Hello, dear ones. I just wanted to continue the conversation that we started last night, and I thought that I would say a little bit about why I'm here and what I'm doing on this channel. I have a great passion to share with people the spiritual technology and the tools that I have learned that bring healing in every area of life. The Hebrew word for peace, or what we translate as peace, is actually Shalom. They use it as a greeting, hello and goodbye. And what it means is nothing missing, nothing broken. So peace is a somewhat inadequate way of translating it, but my mission is to help people heal. I'm a clinical psychologist. I work as a clinical psychologist and a spiritual counselor, and I've been doing that for about 23 years. Prior to that, I was teaching philosophy of science, which was also a great passion. I thought that it could really give people insight and understanding, which it does, but again, not far enough. And in my own spiritual journey from childhood, I was raised Catholic, and as a child tried very hard to find God, but couldn't do so. I went to church, I did all the things, but I just couldn't find that peace, that connection, that wholeness. And eventually at about 14 I gave up, and then I continued to pursue various spiritual paths, New Age paths when that came along, and I was a Sufi for 10 years. Sufism is a heretical arm of Islam. It says that, one of the things it says is that it teaches God is within, and that's very unacceptable to traditional Islam. But I learnt wonderful things and practices and meditation. But after 10 years I came to the recognition that I'd hit a spiritual glass ceiling, that I couldn't go any further. And so I had come to the end of the non-Christian places that I'd pursued, and if anyone had told me I would go back to Christianity and reconnect and do what's called being born again, I would have just laughed and said that that was totally impossible. I thought Christianity was just a set of religious beliefs and had nothing to offer me. But I'd started watching bits and pieces of Christian television, and sometimes the scripture would talk to me, and I was walking down a beach track about 5 years ago, and along near Seaford Beach, where I love to go, and I felt the Lord come into my aura. I knew it was the Christ, him who was called Jesus, who's now living in the spiritual dimension, and I knew it was him, and I knew that he was just waiting and that he was in my aura, and I heard him say with my inner ears, not my outer vision, just as I saw him with my inner eyes, not my outer eyes, and he said, "Do you want me to come into your heart?" And I had no idea what that meant at the time, but I kind of instinctively understood that I did, and that was my born-again experience. And I felt him come into my aura. It was totally non-invasive, non-intrusive, and from that point my life completely changed. I spent 6 months watching Christian television, and again my inner eyes and ears seemed to have been opened because I just couldn't get enough. I could understand what they were talking about. It seemed like they were talking just to me, and that it was building up my understanding of this amazing spiritual world, of which I'd known aspects, but never like this. And I listened to lots of CDs and teachings, and eventually I joined a Pentecostal church. I'd never heard of the Pentecostal movement, and they believed in the spirit, and I loved their music, and there was lots of, again, marvelous experiences. But the bottom line is I came to understand that traditional religion and traditional religious Christianity is not at all the same thing as the teachings that come through what I now call the Holy Manual. It is a manual, a spiritual manual that teaches on how to live according to the spiritual laws. And if we know and obey the physical laws, first of all, we won't jump off roofs and get hurt, but we can build aeroplanes, and we can do all kinds of build computers. I'm doing this because of the people that came to understand the physical laws. And the same thing's true of the spiritual laws. Astonishing things can happen if we understand the spiritual laws and operate with them in our lives. So I came to understand that there is a huge difference between religion and spirituality, between what I call Christianism. After I heard him say that, Kenneth Copeland said that is a dogma, and like all the isms is a sort of a man-made thing, and the actually divine access that we have through the Holy Manual and through teachings from people who have the connections themselves to the Creator. And after all, if it's about anything, it's about a personal relationship to the Creator, which you have to have for yourself. But you need other people to tell you that such a thing is possible, because if you don't think it's possible, you won't even open your heart and mind to it. So it is a set of principles and ideas. It's far more than that. It's a set of tools and principles, not ideas, but understandings and knowledge that you can put into practice in your life. And my goal and my mission is, first of all, to ask people to not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Most people are lapsed Christians. We've heard a lot about some of the horrific, at least in Western culture, we've heard about the horrific things that have happened in the religious traditions with the sort of torture of the kids and the sexual abuse. But in far more subtle ways, it's going on in other religious institutions and organizations. But don't let that stop you from pursuing what is true knowledge and true power and true healing. And my mission is to help people find that for themselves. My job is just to remind people really of what they know already. And so I just ask that you open your ears and your heart and you consider, and don't think that religion is the same thing as this Christian spirituality and the true knowledge of how to live life in a way that's full and without any kind of lack, that is whole. So I wish you all a beautiful night, and until we meet again, and I continue this, I will be talking about the psychological aspects of things, giving some tools in regard to dealing with issues like fear and anger and depression, that are also spiritual, but they're also psychological, and the two really are part of a whole, just different aspects of our being. But the spiritual is primary, and that's where the power is. So until next time, good night.